Hi there, everyone, and thank you so much for being here today. We have talked many times about the barriers some writers actually most writers experience when it comes to putting words on the page. This can include, I did write some notes because otherwise I'll forget. But this can include there's time restraints. You can have too many ideas. You could have not enough ideas. You could be suffering from ill health. You could be stressed, and so on. Life happens, and it's not always easy to stick to the schedule of writing. But what isn't talked about quite so much is those barriers that we have as writers internally. That little inner voice in you, inside of you, and no, not the one that tells you that your writing is crap and that everything you've ever written is crap and you should probably go and work at McDonald's or something else. Not those sorts of inner voices, because they happen to every author. It doesn't matter how much success you have or how much you've done, how many books you've written or not written, even if this is your first book. Every single writer goes through a stage in their writing process where they think what they're writing is crap. And the only thing you can do when that happens is just keep writing, because it will pass, especially when you edge your way closer to that climatic scene you've been dreaming of for ages. But there is another little voice which can be just a tad problematic, and it's that one that insists that every word you write is perfect. The issue of being a perfectionist was actually raised by one of my wonderful channel viewers. Thank you so much. You know who you are. And I want to see if I can help with that, because I think there's a lot goes on with this need that we have to be perfect. Perfectionism can impact your writing in three different ways. It can paralyze you from writing your first sentence and therefore stopping you from writing at all. It can prevent you from making any meaningful progress in your book, because you might be attacked by this perfectionism partway through. And, especially if that's combined with the whole everything you write is crap business in a voice that we all have going on, it can just basically, it pulls you to a stop midway through your book, so it never gets finished. Or there could come a time when you might have even typed the end, and yet you have to go back. There's something that drives inside of you, and you have to go back and you tweak and you tweak and you tweak and you tweak and you tweak. And in your head, what you've created is never good enough. So therefore, it never gets published. Readers never read it. They can't buy it. And therefore, you don't make any money from what you're doing. Now, I do have a video about the tweaking side of things, and if I remember, do I point up, down, or in between? I can't remember. I'll probably just link it in the description below, but if I can think to remember to put up one of those little card thingies, I will. But let's think about the first issue we have about writing that perfect first sentence. Now, a lot of writing courses talk about this, especially well-established ones in academia, the importance of the first sentence. They pull out examples written by classical authors who have, whose words have bloomin' prevailed through the ages, and they're cited as absolutely immaculately crafted examples of how our first sentence should make a reader feel. The problem with that is most of us, myself included, are not classically capable. We are actually not even wanting to write a literary masterpiece. We are wanting to write a story that we can self-publish on Amazon and that we might make a bit of money from, because it's a fun way of making a living. But if you put so much pressure on yourself at that very first hurdle, those first words that you put under chapter 1, you're never going to get that book written, because you'll paralyze yourself. And I want to show you what I mean. See, I don't think it's important to capture your reader's attention in the first line. I think it's important to capture your reader on the first page. If you look at the look inside function on Amazon, which is I'll use as my example here, it's really handy because it gives your potential reader a chance to look at your first, I think it's 10% of your book. I'm not sure how much Amazon actually allows readers to see for free. But what you want to do in your first chapter is encourage questions, have your readers starting to care about a character, having them think, oh, what's going to happen next? I want to show you a couple examples, just a couple, because I have got a lot of books, but I do this with every single book that I write. So what have we got? Okay, this is Hell's Silence. I'm sure, hopefully you can see it there. If I spread that out across the scene and make it one page, then hopefully that will be easier for you to see. But as you can see, I haven't mentioned anything on here. I haven't mentioned anything about the weather. I haven't mentioned anything about where they are. What I've done is I've started with a character and I have jumped straight into the scene. Now, this particular book, which is Hell's Silence, is actually book, I can't remember, 8, something like that, in a series. The thing is my readers have met these characters before. That's just that Hal hasn't had his own book. So I can write like this and poodle along, and I've immediately jumped the reader into a scene. He meets up with his brother. They're talking about general things. Now, Hal doesn't talk, so I had to be able to convey that through the words and his actions to show he was communicating with his brother. There's a tiny little bit of backstory here about the differences with the brothers and everything else. And then it goes on to say, is it a good idea? And, but Hal's clearly showing he's got all these prepared cards, handwritten cards, saying, oh, this, or this, or this, or this. The reader's thinking, where's the guy going? What's he doing? And is he going to be okay? And if they care about whether or not he's going to be okay, then they're going to want to read this book. Now, just quickly, and the other example is, because this is the case of where I have got established characters and the readers have met them before. And so it's perhaps, you might be thinking, oh, well, mine's sort of totally new. I'm not writing a book in a series. This is a brand new book. And that's fair enough too. So we'll go to this one here. This one here is called Not That Kind of Demon. It is currently in edits. I finished writing that last Friday, and I'm really pleased with myself. And here you go. You can see a similar sort of thing. I don't know how much of this you can see. You really should tell me in the comments below. But here I've introduced a brand new character, and this is about Cyrus, and he's saving a spider. It's something that I do too. If I see a spider or a bee, not a wasp, but a bee, I will save them and put them outside. And so that's what he's doing. And I have mentioned here, he's talking about, so there's a concrete, there's his workshop. So what I'm doing is I'm setting the scene for the reader and a little bit about Cyrus's character without actually saying that's what I'm doing. Cyrus cares about this little creature. He deposits it out in the thing. Don't go waving your arms at me. You'll attract the attention of an eagle-eyed bird. And he saunters back in. He's relaxed, he's happy, he's laid back. This is what I'm trying to convey on this first page. I have a brief reference to where he might be. He loves the fact that he's at the bakery. I mention a secondary character, and his conversation with her tells you more about his character and everything else. And so this is how I started the story. There is no perfect first line. I don't think anybody on any academic writing class will say, no, my little pretty, you can't stay down there, as a perfect first line for a literary masterpiece. However, For my stories, it's pretty much par for the course. So if you are struggling with the perfect way to write your story, then jump in the middle of your scene. Just jump in. Start with some dialogue. Start with an action. Start with something that immediately hooks your reader and they want to know more. You can fill in all the details about all your elaborate world building and the character personalities and their backstories and everything else. That can all come during the course of the story. They don't all have to be dumped on the reader in the first page. You tease just enough information so that the readers form a connection or an opinion about your character. And then they'll want to keep reading the book because they'll want to know what happens to that character next. Good or bad, evil or laid back, readers want to know. And that's what you're encouraging. You are not creating a literary masterpiece. You are crafting a story that readers want to keep turning the pages of until they get to the end. So hopefully that helps you get past the initial sentence part of things. But what happens if you've gone, how sometimes we get this idea for a story and it's really, really exciting and we can see the first couple of chapters in our head, this character's going to do this and this character's going to do that. And we do that and we write those chapters and then, dun, 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 we can't think what to write next. And that's really disconcerting because that climatic scene, we've already got all that planned out as well. But there's this bit between the beginning and the end, both things we've thought about, extensively planned for, plotted or anything else. But then there's that muddy bit in the middle and it's like, oh my God. And so you've written about 3 chapters and then you're going through a normal writing phase of thinking, oh, I've got a soggy middle. And it feels like you're blocked, but you're not blocked because you do know what the climatic side of things is going to be. So you haven't got writer's block. You've got writer's stumped or something. And a lot of that can be trying to be perfect. We want it all to be perfect. Now, I'm a pantser, okay? I write all of my stories from the top of my head. I have, I get myself a couple of characters. I think about a situation or the first scene, and then I write it, and that's it. And I don't know what my climatic scene is going to be until I write it. So I don't actually have that edge, but you probably do know. And so you're getting bogged down with the nitty gritty in the middle because perhaps you're worried because certain details, you'll miss certain details or you won't put everything in. Or maybe you've spent 6 months world building and you want to cram it all into your story and can't find where it's going to go. If you feel any of that, anything like that at all, I want you to consider this first part or what you're writing now is your first draft. Say the words to yourself. First draft. That means you can write whatever you like, however you like, as much or as little as you like. It is your first draft. Now, full disclaimer, I don't write first drafts. I write a draft, 1. That's it. I write the file that I finish, I send to the editor because that's what I do. But I've been doing this for some time. And I have always done this because I don't like second guessing myself. So I don't. One of the reasons why I write so much and how I can write so much is that I write a story, comes out of my head onto the page. I type the end, it goes to the editor. That's it. I don't second guess it. I don't go back. If my editor picks something up, that's something totally different again. That's fine. Then I may go back and change it. But usually, in the meantime, while my editor is working on that book, I've already started another one, because that's how I make my living. So I have to keep going. So for you, though, where you're not necessarily making a living at this yet, think to yourself, first draft. Because if you think first draft, that implies a second draft or a third draft. And that gives you room to make mistakes. Now, I can bet you anything you like, there's a good chance your first draft is going to be the draft that you go with. It's going to be the story that you want to publish. However, in your head, this is like a little bit of mental trickery to get past your need to be perfect. If you free yourself from that, then your words will come more easily. So tell yourself that what you're writing is your first draft. And then when you write the story however way you want, get it out there, get it on the page, type the end, then save it, close the file, and give it to someone else, whether it be your friend, whether it be your significant other, whether it be an alpha or a beta reader that you've come across on a social media group. Give it to somebody else for feedback. Do not touch it. Do not even look at it. Give it to someone else. And if they think it needs changing, then you can. But if they come back, as I'm sure they will, and tell you what an amazing story it is, then you'll have the, what do you call it, the validation, if you like, to realize that your gut instincts in writing were right all along. And I do write that way. And I do believe if people listen to their instincts more, instead of the perceptions and the barriers that we put up ourselves due to social conditioning or education or anything else, I tell everybody I know who talks to me about writing, write the book you want to read. So for your first draft, don't care about crafting a masterpiece. Don't care about anything at all except writing the book you want to read. Okay, and then as I say, when it comes to this tweaking angle, don't. I have a video about that below. Please watch it if you're a tweaker, because if you ever want, I mean, if you're happy writing stories and tweaking for the rest of your days, you do you, boo. That's fine. There is honestly nothing wrong with that. But I am a self-published author who makes money, who makes my living, pays the rent on this place and everything else from the stories I write. And so when I come and talk to you, I'm talking to you with that framework. And if you want to start seeing money from what you're doing and finding readers and getting all those wonderful things that can happen when you become a self-published author or published, hey, I'm not going to mock that either. It's just I was always too chicken to get a publisher. I'm really happy with my self-publishing situation because I also make more money. But, you know, whatever. If that's not you, then that's fine. Own it. You can work on your novel your entire life. And all credit to you. Because why shouldn't you? It's your work. It's your writing. It's what you want to do. But if you are like that, don't bemoan the fact that you can't get it finished, because you can. You just have to be a little bit more ruthless, a little bit more determined, a little bit more disciplined. And for goodness sake, type the end and then pass the story on to someone else so you can start writing your second one, because we all know that series is where you make your money. But anyway, if you have any questions about any of this at all, because I think I went a tiny bit off track there. I had a beautiful script all written out here, and then I think I went a tiny bit off track, but never mind. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. I'll do my best to help. And to the lovely channel viewer who gave me this idea in the first place, thank you so much. I did find it really interesting to be able to explore this a little more, because I do think that when we worry so much about the perfect words or being perfect, there's an awful lot of things we don't do, and that's a shame, because you've all got these incredible stories locked away in your brain, and wanting to do it perfectly can really stuff that up. So I'm really thrilled I got the chance to talk about this today. And if I can help with anything else, or if I haven't been specific, or if you think my tips don't help and want me to find more, all of that, let me know in the comments below, my friends, and that would be really wonderful. If you did get any value out of this, a like and subscribe would be lovely, but it's not necessary. And as always, thank you for being here, and check out some of my other videos, because I do genuinely want to help. If you want to write a book, if you want to write your first novel, or if you want to make money from your first novel, then this could be the channel for you. So hug the ones you love, my friends, and until the next video, we'll see you later. Bye.